You have one unheard message.
Hello, Jenny.
Hello, Jenny.
I need some help.
You'll never believe what they said to me.
Help me, Jenny. Help me, Jenny.
Hi, it's Jenny, modern day etiquette expert. I'm here to help. All of your awkward encounters, uncomfortable boundaries, and questionable social interactions are welcome here. We can navigate them together with warmth, empathy, and curiosity because Jenny says so. Let's get into it. Welcome back. Today's question is one about body boundaries and changing of those body boundaries, and I'm very excited. So let's listen to that voice message.
You have one unheard message.
Hey, Jenny. I'm at a loss and need some advice. If you were usually a hugger and kisser when it came to greeting people, but no longer want to be, is that okay? I explained this to friends that I no longer want to have a hugging relationship with, and they are having a hard time. Some force themselves on me, others become highly insulted and freeze me out, and everything in between. What can I do to shift my relationship with hugging without negatively impacting my relationships with my friends? Thank you for the advice. Signed, no longer a hugger in New York.
I want to say thank you to this listener for contributing this question. This is such a fascinating question and also so vulnerable. So, first of all, thank you for being vulnerable with us here. I often feel, well, there's part of me that wants to say to your friends, this is not how we treat people. I'm going to be honest with you. That's part of me wants to say that, but also recognizing that they are humans with their own emotions and situations that they go through and not always acting perfectly. And maybe what they feel is a little confused. And I think that sometimes when we have these awkward circumstances where somebody feels pushed away or put down or alienated from you, it's often because there's lack of explanation. And I think in those moments, it can feel so fast. And so you have somebody coming to hug you. They've hugged you for 20 years every time you've come into a room or come into their house. And you that time say, oh, I don't want to hug. And suddenly they feel like they've done something wrong that's never been done wrong before. And then it's awkward. And I don't know the extent of these conversations that you've had with your people, but I do know myself and I do know other people. I think that a lot of the discomfort of these situations comes from confusion and the feeling of being rejected. And I think that if you are able to sit down with these people and in a not a serious way, it's hard to strike this tone, but just to explain to these people, because you do care about them. You do want to keep them near to you. And you also recognize that the goalposts have changed, have shifted. And that the way to conduct themselves with you has shifted. And that for some reason that feels frustrating and upsetting and maybe a little alienating to them. To sit down with them and explain, it's not about you. It is about me. I have been doing a lot of work and I'm realizing I'm just not comfortable hugging. And this is something that I'm just, in order to love me better, this is what I ask for. If people are still difficult and they still have issue with this, it might take them a little bit of time. That might want to be somebody that you consider if you want to have them in your life in that capacity. And that doesn't mean cutting them out entirely, but it might mean knowing that they're not a person that you can walk into a room with. You might have to hold something when you walk into the room so they don't try to hug you. You know, there's a lot of different strategies around that, but you might want to consider who that person is in your life and the position that they hold and how much interaction you have with them. Because generally when somebody is uncomfortable with our boundaries, be it physical, be it emotional, it's because the lack of boundaries served them better. And generally when somebody is uncomfortable with our boundaries, given time and given some processing, it might not be somebody that you want to have in your life. So these are things to consider, but I think starting with a very gentle, uncharged conversation You can also do this conversation through the guise of a story and explain to them through almost a personal parable of this happened to me and now I'm uncomfortable doing this thing, hugging, or this person handled it really poorly. Can you believe that? It gives them the position to be like, oh, I can see your perspective a little bit more. I understand it. And I know that it's not about me, because I think so often people are afraid that they've hurt you or they've done something wrong or that they're personally being rejected. So I hope that helps. No longer a hugger in New York. I really appreciate you reaching out, being vulnerable with today's question. I know that's a very awkward one, especially after COVID. I think a lot of us have unmasked a little bit and realized our boundaries have shifted or what we're comfortable doing has shifted. And our communities aren't always set up to support us in those decisions. So thank you. I'm curious, audience. What would you do in this situation? What have you done in this situation? Have you encountered it? How do you feel about my advice today? Do you think it's great? Do you have something to add? Do you think I said too much or said too little? I'd love to know what you think and if this advice would work for you. Head to freshstartsregistry.com/JennySaysSo and let us know. Thanks for tuning in to Jenny Says So. Remember, setting boundaries and practicing modern etiquette isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up with kindness, respect, and authenticity in every interaction. Keep practicing, keep learning. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself when needed, and never forget, no is a complete sentence. Do you have a question you need a little help with? Head to freshstartsregistry.com/JennySaysSo and ask away. All questions are anonymous, and I'm here to help.